This is one of my favourite models of SS that we got here in Australia. This is the VS SS, this particular one, Series 1, 1995. And there's a few reasons why I like this one the best. It is my favourite shape of the earlier Commodores in the SS, and everything from this red mould, which is exclusive to the S-Pack, and the SS like this, there was something about the styling of these cars that combined with the running gear, which is obviously the Holden 5 litre, just everything about them. These were really, really popular, especially among younger blokes back, 20 odd years ago. And that's the story with this car. This car has been owned for the last 18 years by one owner, a bloke who bought it when he was 18 years old. And he is, unlike probably most 18-year-olds that bought these cars, he has really looked after this car. And I'm really excited to show you guys what's going on with this car, particularly if you're outside of Australia. You might not be as familiar. So there are a few differences between these, the SS, and the base model executives. The biggest one on the outside is the body kit. So they all have this sort of lip that wraps around the entire car, and they have this red moulding, which looks really, really good. The base model executives, they're all black. The other big difference with these is the seats. So they all have SS sort of stitched into the seats, and really, really good. They have FE2 suspension, of course, as all the SSs do, and they have their own wheels. But that's about it. And I think that that's one of the reasons why these are so hard to find now. Because these cars are so related to a normal base model and they weren't worth anything, a lot of these cars, when they started to get a bit run down, were bought and parted out, and all the bits were bolted onto base model executives. Now, you could get an executive with the running gear out of this car, but they were even rarer again. So they just don't make these anymore, and you don't see them like this anymore. They're either modified or they're wrecked. So very cool to see one like this. Another difference between this and the executive, these only came in a handful of colours. So there is this one, Panther Mica, and there is one that is quite similar to this, sort of a bit more bluey, called Botanica Mica. There is just a dark blue, can't remember the name of that off the top of my head, and there is white and a red. This colour and Botanica Mica are really, this and Botanica Mica are the colours to have, in my opinion. Unfortunately, they have not really held up to the harsh Australian sun, so a lot of these cars have been repainted, including this one. Although this one was repainted 18 years ago. So the current owner who bought it 18 years ago has really looked after it. And again, everything, this whole package, the standard wheels, standard suspension, it's a really nice car. I'm excited to show you guys. There is one thing that has been modified with this car, that's under the bonnet, but it is very tasteful, and I'm sure it's going to get no complaints. So I'm lucky enough to have had lots of VRVS HSVs on the channel, and I'm pretty lucky. And because of that, I have that to compare this to. And I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial, especially if you've got HSVs. I actually prefer the interior in these cars, and that might sound crazy, but as much as it doesn't feel as special as those HSVs, I like that. I like that it's simple in here, and it feels very, I hope this doesn't offend him, but it feels quite working class. Don't get me wrong, I love the HSVs, and I can absolutely appreciate them, but they're almost of a different car completely. The HSVs had a 6-speed manual, and these all have 5-speed. This feels like my Ute, if that makes sense, but it is very different than my Ute, that's for sure. Very, very cool car. Again, the interior is reasonably basic in here, but it has some of that 90s charm that is missing in a lot of new cars. This one is a power pack as well, so it's a little bit more special than a normal VSSS, which means it does have electric windows, which is pretty cool. It also has been optioned with an airbag as well, so pretty fancy. I've always said that I probably wouldn't buy another VRVS because I've already got a really good VS wagon and I drive a VS every day. But this car is really making me question that. Even though I've got a car with the same running gear as this, I really like this car. It's fantastic. It's a very desirable combination. This colour in manual, great healthy running gear. So it's no surprise that the engine in this car is absolutely spotless, but there are a few things done to it. So it has yellow top fuel injectors out of a Group A. It has VT 5 litre heads. It's got a crane cam 286, and this thing is making 191 kilowatts at the wheels. Now that is a lot for a Holden 5 litre. That's 20 more than my humble VN. Really whoever tuned it, well done, because that is pretty hard to get out of the old Holden 5 litre, especially when they've got a standard intake manifold like this engine. Pretty impressive numbers really for a Holden 5 litre, and it definitely goes all right. But more importantly than it going all right, it sounds fantastic. So have a listen to this. One thing that's really cool about this car as well is that it's got all of its books, and one of the highlights is this sort of Holden Commodore magazine, and it's clearly the promotional magazine that come with this car, and there's just heaps of really cool information in it. I don't know, it's almost a little bit sad because all of this is gone now. It's like looking at old photos. And of course it has all of its books and everything that you would need. It also has its proof there that it makes 190 kilowatts at the wheels, which again for an old Holden 5 litre is pretty damn good. And we also have a little motor magazine here of the this exact car versus the Ford equivalent, the EL XR8. All right guys, we are sitting in the driver's seat. I'm pretty excited about driving this. As of recording this, I have not driven it. So yeah, that sounds very good. Man, the handbrake, wow, okay, so my very first impressions is the clutch is very heavy, heavier, oh no, maybe not, maybe I just, oh, that was close. So if you guys haven't driven a cammed manual before, it is a little bit trickier than a normal manual, that's for sure, because you're really fighting, it almost just wants to stall. And again, that's not this particular car. That is pretty much all cammed manuals if you've watched any of my other videos. But that's my immediate first thought. The other thing is that this car drives really good. The best part about these cars though, by a mile, this car has IRS as well, which is pretty cool. I mean, they all had them really by this stage, but just again, the whole package, manual, V8, lots of noise, and this one is really tastefully modified. I mean, like I said, the only thing that's been done is the engine's had a tickle. Everything else is standard, and that's great. And it's something, as I'm getting older and fatter, is something that I've really started to like. Again, we're already up to 80 there. I don't want to be beating on this car too hard. It definitely feels faster than my VN though. There is 20 more kilowatts at the wheels. It's a very, very healthy car. And like I said earlier, this is sort of a car that I'd love to have in the shed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly have enjoyed my time with this car. I would love to have one of these in the shed. I really would. These are so cool. And I know from the outside it might seem silly because I already have VRVSs and I've got a car that has this running gear, but I don't know, but there's something about these cars that really, really speaks to me. I absolutely love them. If you guys would like your car on the channel, then please feel free to get in touch either here or on Instagram. And I really appreciate everybody for following along, watching, and there is definitely more cars like this to come. So thanks for liking, subscribing, and all of that stuff. Thanks for watching.